What are the types of buildings that there exist in Ancestors Legacy in a typical battle scene? The resources, some interesting stuff that perhaps you don't know about the villages, weaknesses and strengths of the units, which unit beats which unit, how to manage the actual settlements. Okay, this game is pretty much based on historical nature. So it is, even though it has a lot of historical stuff in it, it doesn't mean that it is going to stick with history as other games perhaps could make. It is not exactly a war game. So if you know my channel, you would note that my channel is about war games, but this is much more likely to be an RTS, which is a real-time strategy game, which plays similar to Warcraft. You have these town halls. The town halls, as you can see, are at the style of Age of Empires. So basically, if you want to get your town hall if you want to upgrade your town hall, rather, you have to click the town hall, and you're going to see quite a lot of things here. Quite a lot of options that we have here. This is the main town hall, but if you go here, you click here, you're going to see a couple of different stuff here. This is the menu for better defenses. You have a maximum of 3 towers for each of the actual settlements that you capture. And watchtowers are the only things that you can defend yourself with in this game. So if you do that, you can defend yourself and you can use your resources. As you can see, we have been using these resources. But how do we get this amount of good resources that we see here? Well, it is in the manage village. Manage village, each time that you capture a village, you can see here, it is going to put in here nodes that connect to different resources. For example, this D settlement is connecting with a wood, with a wood chopper or wood cutter, rather, and food. So these are supplies. This one here, which is a mine, which is going to bring us a lot of iron. Wood repair and construct, which is pretty self-explanatory. Usually in most of the RTS, that's the function of wood. Then you have food, which will maintain your troops. Iron will upgrade the armor. Immediately is going to make the unit, basically the squad, because here it is called a squad, is going to fight much better. So the game has morale. So as you can see in the unit card, it has a white bar that indicates morale. When this is full, you're going to have full morale, which is white. Then down there, you have the level of the actual squad. You have the amount of soldiers that the squad has inside. And you also have where is the location of the actual squad. You can see here that squad is in the base. That's why this guy has this small flag in here. I don't know if you have noticed, but in here we have a bar. So what are those bars? What is the meaning of those bars? There's actually a meaning if you don't know. Clean bars like this, if you haven't taken the settlement, means that there are no peasants that are going to oppose you. If it's a bronze bar, it means that it's going to have a light defense in between 1 to 5. A silver bar means that it is going to have a medium defense in between 6 to 10. And a gold bar means that it's going to have 11 or more peasants to defend. And you can click the alarm that will call in the peasants to defend the village. Now, if you do that, the peasants, as you may see here, they are working in different areas. These guys are working here, collecting food by hunting. These guys are here chopping wood, and these guys are here working in the mines. If you click the actual button here, which this is not our settlement, this one, it says an alarm. Basically what the peasants are going to do is to stop working, and they are going to gather to defend the village, which is useless. Trust me, you are not going to do anything. You are better off by creating your own towers, your own archer towers, such as this one. You are not going to be able to have more than 10 squads per battle. So this is a maximum of squads that you have, 10 squads. So don't think that you're going to have thousands of troops all over the place. It is not logical as well because in this time period the battles were very, very small. The other important thing to take into account in the UI is that these houses here is the population count. Each number of these is one unit or one squad that you can recruit. You have barracks, you have archery range, and blacksmith. And everything is going to be related to the type of squads that you can recruit. For example, this thing here is the barracks for the Vikings eventually. So this is going to allow you to recruit, as you can see, if you click it, you can recruit spears, you can recruit berserkers, which are two-handed, and shields. The next thing that you can see here are upgrades, which is called veterancy, which is going to make the troop fight better. The next thing that you're going to see here are archery. And for example, you have an archery range. You should find it over here. This is the archery range. It is also the name in here. You can see here that you can recruit archers in here. In here you have the blacksmith, in which you can recruit siege weapons or ballistae, and then you have fortified settlement, which are going to give you several improvements in the settlement, several improvements in supply storage and prosperity. A great tip that I'm going to give you is that you should always fortify the settlement, supply storage improvements, and do prosperity, because that is going to be the difference in between victory or defeat. The other thing that we can see here is the tents. Each tent is this thing, and each tent is going to increase the population limit, which I mentioned before, in this number, and is going to allow you to create another squad. Going into the type of units that you can recruit, the type of fighting units that you can recruit, we're going to talk about these type of units. So first we have the spear riders, or the spears. I'm going to put a chart in here in which you can see what are the weaknesses and what are the strengths of each of the unit types. So we begin with the spears. Spears are very, very weak against shields eventually, because if you are going to poke someone with a pointy thing and you have a shield, you're going to block that thing. So that is going to be self-explanatory and pretty logical. So spears are not good against shields. Now, shields are very, very good against spears and something that shoots arrows. The shield guys have a weakness, and the weakness is the axes. Two-handed weapons and also horses are good against shields. Two-handed weapons, normally they don't have any protection, and these guys are very, very weak against spears. So if you thrust a spear into a torso, that's it. Something that does not have a shield or does not have something to protect with is going to be weak against spears. So they are weak against spears, and again, they are good destroying shields and chopping horses. The archers are going to be very good against pretty much most of the troops, most of the types of squads. Okay, most of the type of troops are going to be weak against archers, but the guys that have shields, eventually the guys that have shields are going to rise the shields, and they are going to be protected by the hail of arrows. Now, ranged troops are similar to ballistae. Now let's remember that ballistae are recruited in the blacksmith and are these things here. The ballistae are very similar to archers. Now I'm separating two siege types of units here, which are ballistae and the catapult. We have two of those. The ballistae is similar to the archers because it can defeat not most, but all of the units, including the shield. The ballistae are armor-piercing units that will pierce any shield that you put in front of it. However, we have other one that is the catapult. The catapult is going to be good against buildings. The ballista is good against buildings. It can destroy buildings very quickly, but not so quickly, which is the king, the catapult. And finally, the cavalry. Let's talk about the cavalry. So usually the cavalry is good against, as we mentioned before, they have spears, and there are some factions that have very, very heavy cavalry, which is called the shock cavalry. They are good against shields and good against archers, but they are weak against chopping axes and chopping two-handed weapons that use a lot of force, and they are weak against spears because spears can form spear wall and can destroy the cavalry. Here we have the manage the village, and if we manage the village, we are going to see here that we have the option to get the resources separately or all bunched up. So usually when you're going to capture a village, I'm going to give you another tip. Press F3, which is the one that calls for the manage village, and then go with R, which is going to take all of the resources of the aforementioned settlement. Buildings, I'm going to separate them in three types of buildings, or three groups. We have the army buildings, religious buildings, and town buildings. If we talk about town buildings, we have the tents that increase the population. Of course, we have the wells. The wells are going to be useful if you want to take fires out when other troops are going to raid your settlement, and you're going to use the water of the well to take out the fire. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the opposing force to burn your settlement. Another town building is the increase of the archery towers, which are the watchtowers, as we already discussed. And then you have I would say, the town hall, which is something that you already start with, and the blacksmith. The blacksmith is the access for your technologies, and this is perhaps one of the most important buildings that you have to build. Then we have religious buildings in this game, because we're talking about the Dark Ages. Religion is kind of importance, and we have religious buildings, place of cult, and churches, depending on the religion, which are going to bring us to blessings, which we're going to talk about in a few moments, that will bring buffs to your squads. And finally, we have military buildings. We have three military buildings. We have the barracks, we have the archery range, and we have the stables. Finally, we have here technologies. Technologies are accessible if you have, for example, blacksmith. As it says in here, the blacksmiths provide siege machines and provide technologies to improve your nation, which is pretty important. Depending on what unit types do you have, you are going to increase the veterancy, which is going to make the units fight better. You're going to increase the tier of your technology. This is at the style of Age of Empires, and then you're going to be able to go for fortified settlement, which is going to make the durability of the settlement increase. You're going to go for prosperity, which is going to greatly increase the income, and that is the number that you see at the side of the actual number that you actually have from that resource. And then you're going to have supply storage, which is going to make the cost of each unit, because this means food. The food, each unit is going to cost pretty much less to feed. And finally, we have the section of the blessings, in which is going to have to do the place of cult or the churches. And here you have the worship for Loki, in this case for the Vikings, and they are represented by runes, which are going to make buildings burn down faster, movement speed increased, and attack power increased. Depending on the faction that is going to have different names that are going to be related with the actual historical faction. We're going to do a quick recap. Always increase the technologies of your settlements. Build blacksmiths. Every time that you get into a settlement and you capture a settlement, go F3 and R and recruit all of the peasants that you can to go gather everything that there is in each settlement. Don't forget to put the maximum amount of watchtowers, which is going to help you to get better defenses when another bunch of squads attack your settlement. Get fortified settlements, prosperity, and supply storage. Every time that you play, don't forget to do that, and you're going to be victorious in every battle in Ancestors Legacy. By the price of one coffee in the outside world, you can support me and continue seeing videos like this. It is going to be much, much appreciated. Let's continue with the video. Area attack is for siege machines only. This will attack the assigned area for a short time. So you are going to go and say, I want to attack here, and you're good to go. Changing stances. This is a toggle in between putting your shields up or putting your shields down and be ready to be more offensive or more aggressive. Hold fire if you are telling your archers not to attack because suddenly they are going to see someone, they're going to start shooting, and you can say, hey, hold fire. Dismiss means eventually the skull means that they're going to be thrown into the void of nowhere. Healing camp is used to eventually heal your troops, and this is going to be a little bit interesting because you don't go and heal your troops in front of other troops because your troops are going to be vulnerable to enemy attacks while they are healing. Retreat may have two options. You can retreat to the nearest base or you can retreat to your home base, which is going to take more time, but if you are in a dire situation, it could save you. Torches increases the range of sight at night, and you're going to be able to see further and go further into the fog of war. Replenish means that you are going to be recruiting more troops. This does not decrease the skill, veterancy, or the level of your troop. There are two tiers of armor, the first and the second, and obviously the better the armor, the better the unit is going to perform. So it's going to be more bulky and heavier. Specialization is something that you can set for each unit only once every time that they level up the first level. And when you select one of those options, then you are going to level up and boost the first selected option. There are two traps. One trap is the trap that you put spikes that is going to be completely invisible to enemies, and the enemies are going to go into the hole and they are going to fall into spikes. And the other one is a hole in the ground that is going to trap them, so basically they are not going to be able to retreat and you're going to be able to smash them with whatever you have. An interesting thing is that not too many people know it, but if you are in a defensive stance walking in a place that has fog of war, you're going to be able to spot the actual traps. Another thing about traps is that your squad needs to be standing still to build it, and they also are going to be vulnerable to attacks. And when you fight, you're stuck into the fight. You cannot take the squad away when they are fighting. They are locked in that stance, in that engagement. So if you want to really retreat them, if it is an emergency, you must click the retreat button, but this is going to have a lot of nasty repercussions. There are several squad status effects that are going to be shown in small icons on the right side of the squad banners, which are these that I'm showing in the screen. And also there are left side squad banners that show the general status. We have important information here that we can see if the unit is veteran, if they are in a defensive or offensive formation, if they are retreating, healing, and then you have the weather effects for each of the situations. You have rain or heavy rain that is going to be much more difficult to burn structures, so it's going to take longer, and the movement is going to be slower. This counts the same for snow or heavy snow. And also we have forests. Forest is going to reduce the line of sight, and the range defense is going to increase. So if you have troops inside forests and you are attacked by ranged units, eventually the arrows are going to be stuck in the trees.